The giant trade station floated like a shining jewel in the darkness of space. It was a place where hundreds of alien species came together to sell, to buy, and to meet. Shops glowed with strange lights, ships came and went like birds landing and taking off, and voices from many languages filled the air. Inside one small café on the lower ring of the station, an alien waitress worked quietly. Her skin shimmered with silver, her large eyes glowing faintly under the café's neon lights. She had served many travelers before, smugglers, merchants, even soldiers. But this night she froze when the door opened. A human stepped inside. He looked calm, wearing a simple jacket, his boots clicking on the metal floor. To others he seemed normal, just another traveler looking for food. But to the alien waitress, it felt like the air grew heavy. Her hands trembled as she held a tray, and her heart pounded. The human looked around and then walked toward a corner table. He sat down without speaking, his eyes calm but sharp. The other aliens in the café gave him short glances and then looked away quickly. Humans were rare on this side of the galaxy, and many thought their kind had lost all power long ago. The waitress slowly walked to his table. Welcome, she said, her voice shaking. The human gave a small nod. Just food, something simple, he said, his voice steady. She nodded fast, but inside her chest, panic was rising. She turned away, but her hands could not stop shaking. In her mind, she remembered old stories. Stories told in whispers. Stories of humans who once moved faster than the eye could see. Stories of humans who fought entire armies alone. Stories that made other species fear them so much that a great war was fought to end their power. And after the war, everyone said the humans were broken, their abilities gone, their strength finished. But the way this human looked, the calmness in his eyes, the way he carried himself, it was too much like the stories. The waitress placed the food on a tray, but her knees felt weak. She walked back carefully, her eyes on him the whole time. The café felt quiet now, too quiet. Every alien pretending not to watch but stealing glances at the human. The moment came when the waitress reached his table. Her hand slipped, a glass of water tilted, falling toward the floor. But before it could crash, the human's hand shot out. No one saw him move. One moment the glass was falling, the next it was safely back on the table. The café went silent. The waitress stared at him, her mouth open, her body shaking. She whispered, "Wait. No, you can't. You shouldn't be able to do that." Her vision blurred, and then everything went dark as she fainted right there on the floor. The tray clattered, food scattered, and gasps filled the air. Aliens stood from their chairs, some stepped back in. Fear. Others whispered quickly to each other. They had all seen it. The human did something impossible, something no human was supposed to do anymore. The human bent down, checking on the waitress, his face calm, almost confused. "She fainted," he said softly as if nothing was wrong. But his words did not ease the fear in the room. Every pair of alien eyes was now on him, some filled with terror, some with suspicion, some with excitement. The manager rushed over, a tall creature with long arms and a flat face. He knelt beside the waitress, trying to wake her up. At the same time, he gave a quick signal to two guards near the door. The guards nodded, their hands resting on their weapons, their eyes never leaving the human. The human sat back down, calmly starting to eat his food. He chewed slowly, as if nothing strange had happened. But the silence in the café was heavy. Every whisper grew sharper, the tension rising like smoke. In the air, one alien muttered, "It cannot be true." Another hissed, "If the humans can do it again, the galaxy is in danger." The guards stepped closer, their movements slow but careful. But the human did not look at them. He simply kept eating, his expression calm, almost bored. The waitress lay still, her breath shallow, her hands trembling even in sleep. Her last thought before fainting echoed in her mind. Wait, humans can't do that anymore. Can they? And the café remained frozen in silence, every being inside now staring at the human, every heart filled with one question: was the nightmare returning? The café stayed silent, The sound of the human's spoon against the plate was the only noise. The waitress was still unconscious, lying on the floor, while the manager whispered urgently to the guards. Everyone's eyes were locked on the human, but he kept eating like nothing strange had happened. That calmness was more frightening than any weapon. The guards exchanged nervous glances. They had seen something impossible, a movement faster than their eyes could follow. Old training manuals told stories about human speed, human strength, human instincts. But those stories were history, myths, something that belonged to the Great War and nothing more. Yet here it was, alive in front of them. One alien whispered to another, "Did you see it? The glass never touched the floor." Another replied, "No human should be able to do that, not anymore." The whispers grew like waves, spreading from one table to the next. Fear sat heavy. In the room, mixed with curiosity, mixed with danger. The manager finally stood tall, his voice trembling but firm. "Everyone remain calm. The situation is under control," he said, but his eyes betrayed his words, wide and filled with doubt. The human glanced up for the first time since the incident, his gaze steady, his jaw tightening. "I only caught a glass," he said slowly. Nothing more. But the aliens did not believe. They had lived with the legend too long. A human catching a glass was not just an accident. It was a spark. And sparks could become fire. The waitress stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She gasped and sat up, pointing a shaking finger at the human. "I saw it," she said weakly. "I saw him move, faster than the eye, faster than time." Her voice cracked, and tears filled her eyes. The crowd drew back further, some stepping. Outside the café, whispering to the passers-by, the rumor began to spread into the station. The guards tensed, hands on their weapons, but still they did not act. The human raised his hands slowly, showing empty palms. "I don't want trouble," he said quietly. "I came here to eat, nothing more." But even those calm words felt dangerous. They reminded the aliens of old humans, humans who never shouted, never screamed, only acted. And when they acted, worlds burned. In the corner, an old alien merchant whispered to himself, "It's happening again. The humans are waking up." No one answered him, but many heard him, and their fear doubled. The manager leaned closer to the guards, his voice a low hiss. "Keep him in sight. Don't let him leave the station until we know the truth." The guards nodded, but sweat shone. On their skin, none of them wanted to be the first to test this human. The human finished his food, wiped his mouth with a cloth, and stood slowly. The entire cafe moved back a step, chairs scraping, hearts pounding. He looked around, his eyes calm, but there was something sharp behind them now, something that made every alien's stomach twist. Without a word, he walked toward the exit. The guards followed, careful, slow. Like hunters stalking prey, they did not want to wake. As the door closed behind him, the cafe erupted. Voices clashed, fear spilled out. The waitress shook her head, whispering, "No, no, it cannot be real. Not again." The merchant slammed his hand on the table. "You all saw it, the humans are returning, and if that is true, the galaxy will bleed." The rumor raced faster than light through the station corridors. By the time the human reached the marketplace, whispers were already waiting for him. "Did you hear? A human moved. Like the old ones. They said he caught a glass before it hit the ground. Impossible, the power was destroyed long ago. But what if it's true?" The human walked through the crowd, pretending not to notice. But deep inside, something was stirring. He had felt it too. The strange speed, the sharpness of his mind. It had not been normal. It felt like another part of him had opened, a part he had never touched before. He shook his head, trying to push it away. He told himself it was just instinct, just reflex. But the fear in the eyes of every alien he passed told him otherwise. They were not afraid of a glass. They were afraid of what it meant. Back in the cafe, the manager sent a secret message to the station control. "Human anomaly detected," he wrote. "Possible return of old abilities. Request surveillance and orders." The message traveled quickly, reaching the hands of leaders who still remembered the Great War. Faces grew pale, voices sharp. "If this is true," one of them said, "we cannot let it spread. We cannot let him leave alive." But far away in the shadows of the station, another figure smiled. A scholar of forgotten history. Watching through a hidden screen, he whispered to himself, "So it begins again, the age of humans." And as the human walked deeper into the crowded marketplace, the whispers followed him, growing stronger, darker. Fear had been planted, and it was spreading like fire. The marketplace buzzed with voices, but underneath the noise, whispers carried one name again and again: human. Some said it with fear, some with disbelief, some with excitement. Every stall, every corner, every crowded path seemed to know the story now. A human caught a falling glass with speed no eyes could follow. It was enough to shake the whole station. The human kept walking, pretending to ignore the stares. But deep inside, he felt uneasy. He had not meant to move so fast. It had been instinct. A reflex, but too sharp, too perfect. He touched his hand as if trying to understand what it had done. The alien waitress woke again in the café, still trembling. Her manager leaned over her, whispering, "What did you see? Tell me the truth." She shook her head, her voice low. "He moved faster than light, I swear. At one moment the glass was falling. Then it was back on the table. No one could see it happen." The manager's face hardened. He knew the old stories. If humans were returning to their lost power, everything would change. The guards filed their report, their voices nervous. "We cannot confirm exactly what happened, but the witnesses all agree. The movement was unnatural." Station control studied the words carefully. They remembered history. Long ago, humans had been the only species that could break the natural laws of the galaxy. Faster, stronger, sharper. Their instincts beyond machines, other species had united in fear, and the Great War was fought to end human dominance. When it was over, humans were broken, their powers gone, their legacy buried. Or so everyone believed. Now a waitress's fainting and a falling glass threatened to rewrite that history. The human reached a quiet corner of the marketplace. He leaned against a wall, closing his eyes. For a moment he was back in the café, the glass slipping, the movement of his hand too fast. It was like time had slowed, like his mind was sharper than the world around him. He remembered training as a child, his people telling him humans were ordinary now, weak compared to the legends. So why did he feel something inside waking up that night? He dreamed. He dreamed of battlefields he had never walked. He saw fire raining from the sky, ships exploding, alien armies screaming in terror, and through it all, humans standing alone, their eyes glowing with strange light, their hands tearing through steel. The dream felt real, as if he had lived it before. When he woke, sweat dripped down his face and his heart pounded. It was not just a dream, it was a memory that was not his own. He sat on the edge of his bed in the station's guest quarters, staring at his hands. "What am I?" he whispered to himself. At that moment, he noticed something under the door. A small folded note. He picked it up carefully, opening it with trembling fingers. The words were written in sharp strokes. "They fear you. They will hunt you. Trust no one." His stomach tightened. Someone was watching him, someone who knew the truth, but who, meanwhile, the rumor spread wider in the higher levels of the station. Alien leaders gathered in secret. "This cannot be ignored," one said, his voice shaking. "If humans can do it again, the balance will collapse." Another hissed, "We should end it now. Remove him before it spreads." But one leader raised a hand, calm but thoughtful. "If it is true, killing him may only prove the legend. We must know first. We must test him." The decision was made. The human would be watched, tested, pushed until the truth was revealed. The alien waitress sat alone in her small room, her hands still shaking. She kept seeing his face, calm, steady, too calm for what had happened. She whispered to herself, "They said it was over. They said the humans were finished, but I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes." Tears filled her eyes as she realized the danger. If the humans were rising again, no one would be safe, not even her. Back in the quiet of his room, The human stood and looked out the window at the endless stars. Something inside him stirred. Like a voice deep in his blood, he could almost hear it whispering, "You are not broken, you are not weak, you are what they fear." He shook his head, trying to push it away. But the voice grew louder, and then without thinking, he clenched his fist. The air around his hand shimmered for a second like reality bending. He gasped and stepped back, his heart racing. "What's happening to me?" he whispered, far away, in the shadows of the station. The scholar who had been watching smiled again. Through his hidden screen, he saw the human's aura flicker. Glowing faintly, he whispered softly, "The hidden power returns, the galaxy will not be ready." And in that moment, the human understood something. Whatever was inside him was not going away. It was growing. It was waking. And the galaxy could already feel it. The station did not sleep. Lights burned across every deck. Ships came and went, and voices never stopped. But under that busy surface, secrets moved quietly. The human did not know it, but every step he took was now watched. Hidden cameras tracked his path. Guards in plain clothes followed him at a distance, and whispers carried his name like a warning. Inside the control chamber, alien leaders sat around a long table. Hollow screens glowed with the image of the human walking calmly through the market. "He looks ordinary," one leader said, his voice sharp. Another shook his head. "Ordinary does not make a waitress faint. Ordinary does not move faster than light." The oldest leader leaned forward, his voice heavy. "We must know the truth. If the hidden power has returned, the galaxy will not forgive us for ignoring it." They agreed. The human would not be arrested yet. Instead, he would be tested, provoked, pushed, forced to show what he was. The alien waitress sat in another room, her face pale, her hands gripping the edge of the chair. Across from her, two officers questioned her again and again. "Tell us what you saw," one demanded. Her voice shook. "I told you, the glass fell. He moved too fast. No one could see him move." The other officer hissed, "Or maybe you imagined it, maybe you fainted because of stress." She shook her head, tears filling her eyes. "No, I saw it, I swear. He is not like the others." The officers exchanged looks, writing notes. They believed her, but they wanted her fear written down, proof for their leaders. Meanwhile, the human returned to his small quarters. He tried to rest, but every time he closed his eyes, strange visions came. Battles he had never fought, ships he had never flown, faces he had never seen, but all of them felt like his own memories. It was as if his blood carried echoes of an old war, a war his people had lost but never truly forgotten. He woke with a start, sweat on his forehead. The note from the night before still lay on the table. "They fear you, trust no one." He stared at it, wondering who had sent it. Someone knew, someone was warning him, but was it a friend or another trap? That evening, he walked through the lower halls of the station. Shadows stretched long, the air was heavy with whispers. He noticed footsteps behind him, slow, careful. He turned a corner, then stopped suddenly. Two figures followed him, pretending to look at stalls, but their eyes never left him. He smiled slightly, as if amused, then kept walking. The figures reported back through hidden devices. "Target is aware but not reacting orders." The response came cold and quick. "Do not engage, just watch, we need proof." In another chamber, the scholar sat before old screens. He studied the human's movements with fascination. His voice was low, almost reverent. "Yes, it is. True, the spark is alive again. The humans will rise." He pressed a button, sending another silent message toward the human's quarters. A message the guards would never see. Hours later, the human returned to his room. Under his door lay another folded paper. He opened it, reading carefully, "Meet me at Dock 12, midnight, if you want answers." His heart raced. This was dangerous. Maybe even a trap. But he needed to know. He needed to understand what was happening inside him. At the same time, the leaders made their plan. They would allow the meeting, but they would be ready. Guards in armor were ordered to surround Dock 12 in secret. "We will see," one leader said. "If he truly holds the old power, the test will reveal it." The alien waitress could not. Sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the human's hand catching the glass. Her people had always feared humans, even when told the power was gone. Now she knew the fear was real again. She whispered to herself, "If he is what they say, the galaxy will never be the same." Midnight came. The human walked through empty corridors toward Dock 12. The air was silent, too silent. He felt eyes on him, hidden, watching, waiting. His instincts screamed, but he forced himself to keep walking. At the far end of the dock, a shadow moved. The scholar stepped forward, his cloak flowing, his face hidden. "You came," the scholar said, his voice calm. The human narrowed his eyes. "You sent the notes?" "Yes," the scholar nodded. "Because I know the truth about you, about your kind, and about the power inside you." The human's heart pounded. "Then tell me," he said, his voice steady. But before the scholar could speak, the sound of heavy boots echoed across the dock. The guards emerged from the shadows, weapons raised, surrounding them. A sharp voice shouted, "Human, you are under containment. Do not resist." The scholar's eyes widened. The human clenched his fists. The test had begun. The guards stood in a wide circle, their weapons glowing with charged energy. The human's eyes scanned each one, calm but sharp. The scholar whispered beside him, "They fear you more than you know." The human's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The leader of the guards stepped forward, his voice echoing, "You will come with us, human. You will answer questions. You will be tested." The human tilted his head, his voice quiet. "And if I refuse?" The guard's grip on his weapon tightened. "Then you will not leave this dock alive." The air grew heavy. The scholar stepped closer, lowering his voice. "They do not want answers. They want to erase you before the truth spreads." The human glanced at him, his heart racing. "Then what truth?" he asked. The scholar's eyes gleamed. "That the old power of your kind was never destroyed, only buried, hidden deep in your blood, waiting to rise again." The guards shifted, ready to strike. The human felt his chest tighten, the memory of the falling glass rushing back. The way time had slowed. The way his body had moved without thought. It was not chance, it was not accident, it was something greater. But he forced his hands open, raising them slowly. "I will not fight you," he said. For a moment it seemed the tension might break, the guards relaxing just slightly, but then a sudden crackle sparked in the air. A young guard, nervous and trembling, fired his weapon too soon. The bolt of light shot toward the human, and before his mind could catch up, his body moved. In one breath he stepped aside, faster than the eye could follow. The bolt missed, burning. A hole in the wall behind him, gasps filled the dock. The guards froze. They had seen it too clearly. The impossible speed, the awakening of the hidden power. The scholar's voice was almost a whisper, filled with awe. "Yes, it begins," the guards shouted. "Contain him now." Weapons fired from every side, energy bolts filling the air, but the human moved like flowing water, his body twisting, dodging, hands snapping to knock away blasts. It was not training. It was instinct, ancient and terrifying. One guard dropped his weapon. Stumbling back in fear, another shouted, it's true, they're back." Panic spread faster than the fight. The human stopped, his chest rising and falling, his hands glowing faintly, as if the air itself bent around them. He stared at them in horror. "What's happening to me?" The scholar stepped forward, his voice calm. "The truth of your people, the strength that made the galaxy fear you, it sleeps in every human, and now it has awakened in you." The human shook his head. "No, humans are ordinary. We lost. We were broken." The scholar smiled faintly. "That is what they told you, what they wanted you to believe, so you would never rise again." The guards began to retreat, fear in their eyes. They had been trained to fight many species, but not this, not the nightmare of old legends. The leader growled, trying to keep order. "Do not run, hold your ground." But his words were drowned by the chaos. The human stood trembling, his hands still glowing, the memory of the blasts still in his mind. He had not tried to dodge, not really. His body had simply known, before his thoughts, before his fear. It was as if time bent around him, as if the galaxy itself slowed to match his will. He whispered, "This isn't me. I didn't choose this." The scholar looked at him firmly. "It doesn't matter if you chose it. The power has chosen you, and now the galaxy will remember." Outside the dock, rumors exploded. Aliens ran through the corridors, spreading the story. A human fought the guards. A human dodged energy blasts. The old power is alive. The HFY. Whispers became shouts, and the shouts became fear. Back in the council chamber, the leaders watched the holoscreens. Their faces were pale, their voices sharp. "It is confirmed," one said. "The hidden power is back." Another slammed the table. "We must act now. If the humans awaken again, no alliance will hold, no law will matter." The oldest leader closed his eyes, his voice heavy. "We ended them once, we must end them again before it spreads." But, far in the shadows, others did not share that fear. Some whispered with excitement, some with hope. "If humans rise again," one alien rebel said quietly, "perhaps the galaxy's chains will break." Back on the dock, silence finally fell. The guards had fled, the scholar stood tall, and the human stared at his glowing hands. He felt powerful, but also afraid. If this was inside him, what else was waiting to wake? The scholar spoke softly. "You cannot run from this. They will hunt you now, but you have a choice. Hide and die, or rise and show them why humans were once feared." The human looked at him, his heart torn. "I don't want war," he said. The scholar nodded slowly. "Then you must learn control, because war will come whether you want it or not." The dock lights flickered. Alarms began to sound across the station. The human took a deep breath. He knew now that nothing would be the same. The whispers had turned into shouts, and the galaxy had begun to tremble. The alarms screamed across the station, red lights flashing against steel walls. Every corridor echoed with the sound of heavy boots, orders shouted, and doors slamming shut. The human stood in the center of Dock 12, his chest rising and falling, the glow fading slowly from his hands. The scholar's voice was calm but urgent. "They will come in force now. This was only the beginning." The human's mind raced. He had never wanted this, never asked for it. But the power inside him did not ask for permission. It moved on. "Its own," he whispered. "I can't control it." The scholar's eyes narrowed. "You must, or you will not survive what is coming." The sound of marching grew louder. Dozens of armored guards flooded into the dock, weapons raised, eyes burning. With fear and hate, they spread into formation, surrounding the human and the scholar. A commanding officer stepped forward, his voice booming. "Humans, surrender now, or this dock will be your grave." The human raised his hands slowly, palms open, his voice steady. "I don't want to fight," the officer sneered. "Then die quickly." He gave the signal, and the ambush began. Energy bolts filled the air, blue and red streaks cutting through the darkness. The human felt his heart hammer, his body tense, and then it happened again. Time bent, the world slowed, the bolts crawled through the air like falling rain. His instincts screamed, and his body moved. He twisted, dodged, stepped through the storm of light as if it was nothing. The scholar shouted, "Yes, awaken it, don't fear it." The human spun, knocking aside blasts with his hands, the energy dispersing harmlessly into sparks. The guards shouted in terror, "He's untouchable." One dropped his weapon and ran. Another stumbled back, screaming, "It's true, the legends are true." But more guards poured in, heavier armor, stronger weapons. They moved in squads, trained to fight together. The air shook with their attack, blasts cutting through walls, smoke filling the dock. The human gritted his teeth, every sense alive. He moved like lightning, every strike precise, every step faster than thought. A guard lunged at him with a blade, but before the blade could fall, the human was already behind him. The guard collapsed in shock, whispering, "Impossible," the officer roared. "Keep Firing, don't stop, break him. But fear had already spread. The humans' movements were not only fast, they were unnatural. It felt as if space itself bent to let him pass. The scholar watched with awe, whispering to himself, the humans were never destroyed. Their power was never gone. It was only sleeping. The human struck the ground with his foot. A shock wave burst out, scattering the nearest guards like leaves in a storm. He stared at his own hands in shock. I didn't mean to. The scholar's voice was steady. It doesn't matter. The power knows what you need. It answers you. The officer stumbled back, his eyes wide with fear. He barked one last order. Retreat, retreat! The surviving guards dragged their wounded and fled, the sound of their boots fading down the corridor. The dock was left in silence, smoke drifting through the air, the floor scorched with energy burns. The human stood trembling, his breath heavy. He looked around at the chaos, the broken walls, the fallen weapons. This is not me, he whispered. I'm not a killer. The scholar placed a hand on his shoulder, his voice quiet. You are what they fear, but also what they need. You can decide which path to take. But the alarms still blared, and the threat was not gone. The station was not giving up. Above them, fleets were being called, warships preparing to lock down every exit. The council had already decided. This human could not be allowed to escape alive. In a hidden chamber, the leaders argued. One shouted, You saw what he did? He cannot be allowed to live. Another hissed, If he escapes, the rumor will spread, and soon every human will try to awaken. But the oldest leader leaned forward, his eyes cold. Then we will make an example. We will end him here, and we will show the galaxy that the nightmare will never return. The scholar turned to the human, urgency in his eyes. They will not stop. They will burn this entire station to kill you. You must leave now. The human shook his head. Where can I run? The whole galaxy is against me. The scholar's voice grew firm. Not all of it. Some will see you as hope. But you must live long enough to find them. The human clenched his fists, the glow flickering again. He looked toward the star-filled window, ships moving outside like predators circling their prey. The weight of the galaxy pressed on him, but beneath it, the hidden power whispered, not fear, not weakness, but strength. He breathed deep, his voice steady. Then I will fight, not for war, not for power, but to survive. And to learn what I truly am. The scholar nodded. Then your story begins now. Outside, the first warship turned its guns toward Dock 12, the barrels glowing bright. The human stared at the light, his body tense. The ambush had failed, but the real battle was only beginning. The warship outside Dock 12 charged its cannons, glowing brighter with each second. The red alarm lights painted the human's face, his eyes fixed on the massive guns aimed at him. He felt the floor tremble. Beneath his boots, a low hum growing louder. The scholar whispered urgently, If they fire, the whole dock will be gone. You must act. The human clenched his fists, fear and anger fighting inside him. He did not want this. He never asked for it. But now the choice was gone. If he stood, still he would die. If he ran, they would chase him forever. Something inside whispered, Stand, show them. The cannons fired, a beam of energy blazing toward the dock. The human's body moved before his mind could think. He raised his hands, the glow bursting brighter than before. The beam struck, but instead of burning him, it bent, split like water hitting stone. The dock shook, walls cracking, but the human stood firm, his aura shielding him. The energy scattered into sparks that lit the air like stars. Aliens across the station gasped, many falling to their knees. The waitress, watching from a screen in her quarters, covered her mouth in shock. She whispered, It's real. The humans can do it again. Inside the council chamber, silence filled the room. The leaders stared at the image of the human standing against the warship's fire. One whispered, He blocked it. No machine, no shield, nothing but his body. Another slammed his fist. Then it is true, the nightmare returns. But the oldest leader did not look afraid, only tired. He said softly, We thought we ended them. But power like that cannot be erased. It only sleeps back at Dock 12. The warship charged again, preparing a second strike. The human breathed heavily, his arms shaking. The scholar's voice was calm, but his eyes burned with hope. You see now? You carry what your ancestors carried, what the galaxy feared, what they tried to bury, but it is awake. The human shook his head. I don't want war. I don't want to be a weapon. The scholar placed a hand on his shoulder. Then you must choose another path, but understand, they will not let you. They will hunt you, and soon every human will feel what you feel. The cannons fired again, the beam brighter than before. This time the human did not block. He moved. In an instant he was gone from where he stood, appearing in a blur at the far side of the dock. The blast struck empty metal, exploding with a roar. Smoke and fire filled the air. Alarms screamed louder. The guards watching shouted, "He vanished! He moved like the old ones!" The human stared at his own hands, trembling. I can't control it, it just happens. The scholar's smile was grim. Control will come, but for now it is enough that you are awake. Across the station the rumor spread like fire. From the marketplace to the high decks, from the shadow alleys to the command rooms. Every voice carried the same words. The humans are back. The humans are rising. Some voices spoke with fear, others with excitement, others with hope. The galaxy's old wound had been opened, and it could not be closed. The waitress sat shaking. Her eyes wide, she whispered, "If he survives this, nothing will stop what comes next," the leaders argued, voices sharp and desperate. One cried out, "We must call the fleets. We must unite again. Crush them before it spreads." Another shouted, "If we strike too hard, the other humans will awaken too. Fear will awaken them faster than power." The room fell into silence, each leader realizing the truth. No matter what choice they made, the galaxy was already changing. Back at the dock, the scholar turned to the human, his voice steady. "You have seen what you are, now you must decide, will you hide or will you lead?" The human's eyes burned, but his voice was quiet. "I don't want to rule, I don't want to fight, but if they come for me, I will not bow." The scholar nodded. "Then remember this moment, because from tonight the galaxy will fear your name." The alarm shifted tone, a deeper voice filling the air. "Attention all units. Prepare for containment protocol. Enemy confirmed. War level threat." The dock doors shook, new squads preparing to enter. The human turned, staring at the steel walls, at the glowing red lights. He felt the weight of the galaxy pressing on his shoulders. But beneath that weight, the hidden power whispered louder. "You are not broken, you are what they fear." He closed his eyes, breathing deep, and when he opened them, his pupils glowed faintly. The scholar smiled faintly. The age of humans begins again. Outside the station, more warships arrived, their engines burning like suns. Inside, thousands of aliens whispered, shouted, panicked. And in the middle of it all, one human stood, trembling but unbroken. The galaxy had seen what he could do, and nothing would ever be the same.